Warning: this video contains spoilers for A Guide to the Dragons of Pyrrhia, a Fanwing Guide to the Dragons of Pyrrhia, A Guide to the Dragons of Pyrrhia updated and edited by Starflight of the Nightwings, and basically the entire Wings of Fire series. If you haven't yet read these installments and don't want spoilers for them, please reconsider watching this video at the time. Hi everyone! First of all, I just want to acknowledge the Forge Your Dragon World cover, but I've decided not to look at that in an official video until the Winglets Quartet releases in a few days, so that I'll have more to cover. With that said, welcome to episode 3 of a series called A Fanwing Guide to the Dragons of Pyrrhia. This episode is about the Sandwing tribe. For this series, I will go over all the 11 Pyrrhian and Pantalan tribes in more detail than provided by the plots or dragon descriptions alone. I'm doing the Sandwings because they come after the Mudwings in the Pyrrhian guides, and that was the last episode's subject. As sources, I'll be using guides and things said in the books, along with any implied knowledge. Physical appearance. Sandwings were about the size of your average dragon and had pale yellow or gold scales with underscales that were either the same colors but paler or just white, which helped them to blend into the sand dunes. Sandwings, like nightwings, also have a forked black tongue. Their snouts are very thin and have also been described as serpent-like. They also had a sort of frill along their back rather than the spines that some other tribes had. Their tails were long, and sandwings could also coil them up, as they often did, for protective reasons. And at the end of the tails, they had a venomous barb similar to that of a scorpion that could kill a full-grown dragon in a single well-placed blow. Abilities. As I just mentioned, sandwings had a very powerful and lethal venom in their scorpion tail barbs. The venom came in when they were just 3 years old. If well placed, a single strike could instantly, or at least almost instantly, kill a dragon, and could do much worse to smaller animals as well. The only antidote was the juice of the bright sting cactus, not to be confused with the dragon flame cactus. The bright sting cactus could be commonly found all over the desert and was very easy to acquire, but not outside of the desert. This was because tail barb injuries, especially accidentally from younger dragonets, like, accidental scratches and stuff, were very common. Sandwings also had fire breath, and unlike mudwings, this fire breath could be always used regardless of conditions, as long as those conditions they could survive in. Like if they were underwater, they wouldn't be able to use their fire breath. Speaking of water, sandwings could also survive a very long time without food or water compared to the average dragon. Other information. Sandwings are called the greediest of the 7 or 9, depending on how you count it, Pyrrhian tribes. They were quite obsessed with their treasure and kept nearly all of it in 4 rooms. But, as Smolder said, they weren't that stupid. Notable pieces of the Sandwing treasure include the Sandwing royal scepter, the lazulite dragon, and, of course, the Eye of Onyx. In fact, Sandwings were so greedy that their queen in Darkstalker's time, presumably Scorpion, allowed the Nightwing and Icewing tribes to fight their war in her kingdom, which was in between those two kingdoms. That was, as long as both tribes paid her large amounts of tribute in the form of tons and tons of treasure. Sandwings were also, obviously, the subject of the War of Sandwing Succession, which took place between the 3 queens who blister and blaze and burn. Let me know which one of them you would fight for down in the comments. Anyway, the Great War started when Queen Oasis was killed by a bunch of creatures whose race may be the only one greedier than Sandwings. You guessed it, scavengers. Anyway, 3 treasure-grubbing scavengers by the names of Heath, Stone, and Rose broke into the stronghold, stole some treasure, and murdered the queen. Then they ran for their lives. Well, 2 of them did, anyway. Since there was much confusion as to who would be queen next, Blister and Blaze fled the stronghold out of fear, which fell to Burn, their older sister. Though the first battle wouldn't take place for nearly 2 years, the war was very brutal, and it involved the Seawings, Sandwings, Skywings, Icewings, and last, and according to some least, Mudwings. The war would go on for 18 or 20 years, depending on how you count it, before a relative peace was achieved as Blister and Burn were killed and Blaze surrendered. Then Thorn took the throne. Or was she given it? What's the difference? Before and after the war, however, there were also many Sandwings in the Talons of Power, a terrorist organization led by Vulture that was in disagreement with Queen Thorn and therefore attempted to start a war between the Mudwings and Sandwings to make her look incompetent and restore Oasis's line to the throne as a figurehead, so that Vulture, their leader, could actually be ruling. Onyx was the daughter of Smolder, who was one of Oasis's sons, but Onyx was not raised in the Sandwing Palace, as Oasis demanded that there could only be 3 heirs at a time to her throne, so Onyx had to be raised in secret. The Talons of Power nearly succeeded, but were stopped by Thorn and some of the second arc dragonettes. Home. The Sandwings lived in the Kingdom of Sand, the largest of all 7 Pyrrhian kingdoms, known ancient versions included. In this kingdom, there were 2 main concentrations of dragon populations, along with many small oases where some dragons lived, mainly in smaller groups or by themselves. These 2 settlements were the main stronghold and the terrifying viper pit of the Scorpion Den. The stronghold was, well, a stronghold. It had an arena, used similarly to Scarlet's arena from Book 1, but that's more of a probability instead of confirmed fact, since it's designed in a very similar way, and the characters mentioned that it was possible. Anyway, the Scorpion Den is kind of more interesting. It's basically the first common dragon city seen in the series. We see dragons go about their day-to-day lives, as horrible as those may seem. We saw market stalls and assassins and back alleys. Thorn was in charge of the city, and a band of outlaws called the Outclaws as well, since they sort of worked for her. They controlled the central oasis, which they used to maintain control of the city and feed the younger dragonettes. The Outclaws, though technically a criminal organization, helped the Scorpion Den become more than a mess of blood and claws that it used to be. The Outclaws were unrivaled, and even Cobra, one of the most notorious assassins of all time, and Vulture, the leader of the Talons of Power, may have feared Thorn. They also once worked together on a currently unknown project, right before the Outlaws took control of the city. Special Dragons. Animi. Jerboa and her potentially magically created and immortal daughter, Jerboa II. Royalty. Queen Scorpion, Queen Oasis, King Char, princesses or ex-queens, Blister, Blaze, and Burn. Also Princes Singe, Scald, Smolder, Princess Onyx, Queen Thorn, Princess Sunny. However, if a royal heir is considered unworthy, then the Eye of Onyx will quite literally incinerate them, as we saw with Blister, in favor for a better queen, which hints that Oasis's line is not directly related to scorpions, which is further backed up by the fact that the Eye has chosen commoners over royalty on multiple occasions. Thank you for watching this episode of a Fanwing Guide to the Dragons of Pyrrhia. The next episode will feature Skywings, so watch the skies for that one. I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to like it if you did, comment with questions or comments, and subscribe for more Wings of Fire content. I'll see you in the next video.